Dear beloved chosen ones, welcome. You who have walked alone, you who have carried burdens unseen, you who have stood in the cold silence while the crowd chased comfort. You are exactly where you're meant to be, because the ones who walk alone are the ones who walk the farthest. While the crowd clings to what is familiar, the chosen carve impossible paths through unseen territory. Most people spend their lives drowning in noise, distracted, controlled, spiritually asleep. But you felt it, haven't you? That strange, persistent pull away from the herd, that sacred discomfort, that chilling silence of knowing you were never designed to fit in. Isolation isn't simply a season you endure. It is the very battlefield where the chosen ones are forged. I learned this not from theory, but through the kind of trial that strips everything away. One day, everything I thought was secure, people, safety, comfort, was ripped from my life. And what burned the most wasn't the loss. It was the raw, searing loneliness. No allies, no familiar voices, just me staring into the abyss, daring it to swallow me whole. But here's the part they won't tell you. Loneliness does not break the chosen. It builds them. While others run from silence, we embrace it. While the 80% seek validation and escape, we sharpen ourselves in the dark. This is the realm where the weak are separated from the strong. Because in solitude, something terrifying and powerful happens. You awaken. Your mind clears. Your instincts sharpen. You start seeing through layers others can't perceive. And that's what unsettles them. They can't stop your evolution. They can't control what they can no longer understand. That is why your very existence haunts your enemies. They fear what they cannot manipulate. They despise that you do not need them. They watch from the shadows, confused, threatened, powerless, because nothing terrifies the ordinary more than someone who has mastered themselves. And here's the truth. When you finally step into your power, those who once looked down on you will be the first to look up in silent awe. They will wonder, how did you survive what should have destroyed you? They will sense the shift, the way you walk differently now, the way your eyes read through them, the way you no longer react as they expect. You are not merely surviving, you are evolving. You are among the rare few who do not just exist, but ascend, who embrace the darkness and walk out of it stronger, more dangerous, more unshakable than ever. Before I take you deeper into this message, I want to pause and say something important. To every single one of you who has supported this space through Super Thanks, I see you, and I thank you. Your contribution helps us bring these messages to more chosen ones around the world who need this exact confirmation. And whether you've given or not, please know this. Your presence here matters to me. You simply watching, receiving, and letting these words stir something in your spirit. That is already a beautiful gift, and I'm deeply grateful for it. You are helping to expand this movement of awakening, one soul at a time. Now, lean in, because today I'm about to reveal something that will hit you deeper than anything you've heard before. These are the 5 supernatural powers that set the chosen apart from 80% of this world. Powers that make you spiritually unstoppable. But be warned, once you see what I'm about to show you, you can never unsee it. If you have felt the weight of solitude, if you've always known in your bones that you were never meant to blend in, then this is your moment. Before we dive in, if this already resonates with your spirit, hit that like button, subscribe to this space, and drop a 777 in the comments below. Let's flood this space with the frequency of those who are ready to rise. And once you start this journey with me, trust me, you won't be able to look away. Every second of this message will pull you in deeper than you expect. It will awaken parts of you that have been waiting in silence for years. Now take a deep breath, chosen one, because what we are about to unlock together will forever change how you see your solitude, your power, and your future. Let's begin. God's chosen ones, 5 supernatural powers you gain in solitude that 80% will never understand. Number 1. The ironclad mind, what makes you so unshakable that even chaos can't touch you. Chosen one, you're not built like the rest. When pressure rises, when the world holds its breath for your collapse, you stay still. They wait for you to snap, to crack, to crumble like the majority would. But you never do, and that's what disturbs them the most. You see, 80% of people fold under pressure, not because they're weak, but because they've never been forced to forge strength in silence. You, on the other hand, didn't have a choice. God hand-picked you for pressure. You were baptized in fire, and while most would have been consumed, you came out indestructible. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how people try to provoke you just to see if you'll break? Why do you think they keep pushing buttons that don't work on you? It's because your stillness terrifies them. Your refusal to react makes you unreadable, and what people can't read, they can't control. You've become a mystery wrapped in silence, and in a noisy world that depends on chaos to feel alive, you've become their deepest threat. They might call you cold, they may say you're emotionally detached, but here's the truth they'll never admit. You're not numb, you're focused. You're not indifferent, you're discerning. What looks like detachment is actually deep discipline. Behind your quiet presence lies a mind that has fought wars no one knows about. Internal battles, spiritual storms, moments of questioning your entire reality. But you didn't break, you sharpened. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever sat in silence so long it felt like the walls of your soul started speaking? Did the quiet ever get so loud that it forced you to meet the unhealed parts of yourself face to face? That's the kind of solitude the chosen are familiar with. Not the kind where you're just alone, but the kind where you're being trained, shaped, and stripped of everything fake until only the unshakable remains. That's why solitude for you is not punishment, it's preparation. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Most people avoid silence because it reveals too much. It unmasks their insecurities. It strips away their distractions. That's why they fill their lives with noise, entertainment, constant motion, anything to avoid the confrontation with self. But not you. You faced the abyss. You stared into the deep end of your mind, and when it stared back, you didn't flinch. You sat in the fire and chose not to scream. That is why you're different. Let's look at someone who embodied this, Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, isolated from family and society. It was in solitude that he forged the mental steel needed to lead a nation out of apartheid. While others would have gone mad with rage or despair, Mandela emerged composed, visionary, and profoundly wise. Chosen ones understand that silence doesn't weaken you, it sharpens the sword. You've likely experienced it too. While others were busy trying to prove themselves, you were busy becoming. You didn't need to react to every insult. You didn't need to answer every lie. You didn't even try to explain yourself. Why? Because you knew what most people don't. You don't win by reacting. You win by outlasting, by outthinking, by outmaneuvering. This world respects the one who doesn't flinch. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. Proverbs 29:11. Now here's something they'll never admit. Control is power, and emotional control, that's next level power. When you master your emotions, no one can use them against you. When you own your responses, no one else can drive your destiny. That's what makes you so rare. That's what separates you from the 80% who live in reaction mode. They move from impulse You move from intention. Have you ever been in a room where everyone's arguing but you're quiet? Not because you don't have something to say, but because you've already played out the entire outcome in your head. That's not silence. That's strategy. That's mastery. When others crumble under chaos, you assess. You read energy, watch patterns, and wait for the divine cue. That is the mind of the chosen one, 10 steps ahead, yet unseen. The one who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and the one who rules his spirit than one who captures a city. Proverbs 16:32. Let me give you another example. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated Japanese swordsman and strategist, won over 60 duels without losing once. But his secret wasn't brute strength, it was mental control. He trained in isolation in the mountains, away from distraction. His victories came not just from his sword, but from the fact that his enemies couldn't read his mind. He embodied stillness as strategy. And that's you, chosen one. You don't seek the spotlight. You master the silence behind it. So why do people fear your calm? Because it reflects their chaos. When someone has no control over themselves, your presence becomes a mirror they can't escape. You become a reminder of the discipline they never developed. That's why some will provoke you, mock you, or call you robotic. It's not about you. It's about what your existence confronts in them. Your peace shouts louder than their noise. Have you noticed how you can walk into a room and feel the tension before a word is spoken? How you can see through manipulation like it's made of glass? That's not imagination. That's spiritual discernment born in isolation. You were trained in the dark for the battles coming in the light. And now, even when people try to rattle you, they realize your buttons don't work. Why? Because you rewired yourself. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Romans 12:2. Think about Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist. In the darkest moments of human cruelty, he discovered one unshakable truth. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, his ability to choose his response. That insight became the foundation of his philosophy and life's work. Chosen ones like you come to that same conclusion. They can insult you, ignore you, misunderstand you, but they can never dictate who you become. So here's the truth most people won't understand. Your power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being still enough to hear God's voice in the storm. It comes from mastering the battlefield inside your mind. And when you do that, you become ungovernable. Not by people, not by emotions, not by circumstance. You become a fortress no storm can breach. Your composure in chaos isn't weakness, it's warfare. And you've learned that responding out of peace is always more dangerous than reacting out of rage. So, next time they wonder why you're so calm while they're falling apart, let them guess. Let them whisper. Let them speculate. Because the truth is, they'll never figure out how you do it, and you'll never need to explain. The Lord is my strength and my shield. In him my heart trusts, and I am helped. Psalm 28:7. Let's talk about one final example, Queen Elizabeth I. In a time when women were rarely given power, she ruled with absolute poise and a reputation for being unreadable. Her famous mask of command made it impossible for enemies to know her thoughts. She knew that outward calm preserved inward control. Chosen ones often wear this same armor, not as a disguise, but as discipline. So now, chosen one, take a moment. Look back at all the times you could have reacted, but didn't. All the times you could have lost your mind, but chose clarity instead. That wasn't just self-restraint. That was spiritual maturity in motion. That was your ironclad mind reminding the world, I am not to be shaken, I am not to be read, I am not to be controlled. And when you operate from that level of mental strength, you're no longer playing the same game as everyone else. You're playing for legacy, for purpose, for kingdom. So, what might God be preparing you for now that your mind is this strong? What unseen doors are about to open simply because you refuse to break like the rest? Stay sharp, stay still, stay chosen. Because the next supernatural power, it builds on this one, and it's even more unstoppable. Number 2, the soul's X-ray. Why can you see what others can't even admit? Chosen one, has it ever struck you how quickly you pick up on what others miss? The way someone walks into the room smiling, but their spirit whispers sorrow. The way people speak, yet their eyes tell a different story entirely. You're not imagining things. That discomfort you feel when someone's words don't match their energy, that's not paranoia, that's discernment. That's the supernatural gift God embedded into you. While 80% of the world walks around blindfolded by performance, culture, and charm, you walk with soul sight. They say, don't judge a book by its cover. But you don't even look at the cover. You read the author. You trace the spiritual fingerprint stamped on their presence. You don't just sense vibes, you translate them. Have you ever asked yourself why people avoid eye contact with you? Why some shift uncomfortably in your presence? It's because they feel seen, not in a flattering surface-level way, but in a way that exposes what they've been trying to hide, even from themselves. For the Word of God is alive and active. Sharper than any double-edged sword, it penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Hebrews 4:12. This is your reality. You live in a world of masks, of performances, of carefully curated personalities, and you pierce through it all like a divine X-ray. You didn't choose this. It was chosen for you. You didn't read this in a book. You learned it through solitude, silence, and spiritual training. While others distracted themselves with noise, you listened to the spaces between words. While they chased popularity, you chased patterns. And that, chosen one, made all the difference. You began to notice the subtle cues, the way someone's voice cracked at the mention of a name, the micro-expressions that lasted a half-second too long, the hesitation before a lie. At first it was overwhelming, wasn't it? Seeing too much, knowing too much. But over time, you learned how to carry this gift, not as a burden, but as your greatest shield. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever wondered why you can't just play dumb like everyone else? Why you can't ignore the lies, even when they'd make your life easier? Why pretending not to see the truth feels more painful than facing it head-on? It's because God didn't wire you to be comfortable. He wired you to be clear. The clarity you carry is a threat in a world addicted to confusion. But the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him, because they are spiritually discerned. 1 Corinthians 2:14. Let me show you what this looks like in the real world. Take Harriet Tubman, for instance. She didn't just follow her instincts, she trusted divine guidance and spiritual discernment to navigate dangerous terrain while freeing hundreds of slaves. She saw routes others couldn't. She felt betrayal before it reached her. Her ability to discern, sharpened through solitude, suffering, and silence, became her weapon of liberation. Sound familiar? That's what your life feels like sometimes, doesn't it? A constant undercurrent of alertness, like you're reading a script beneath the conversation, like everyone is acting, but you're the only one who didn't get the memo. It's because your spirit has been trained to detect the unseen, and once you see the lie behind the smile, you can't unsee it. You've probably walked into rooms where nobody said a word, but you felt the tension wrap around you like a fog. You've probably had conversations where the words were pleasant, but your intuition screamed that something was off. That's your X-ray soul at work. While others get caught up in flattery, you notice the motive. While they fall for apologies, you trace the pattern. That's why people can't fool you. And that's why some resent you. They'll say you're too guarded, too skeptical, too suspicious, but deep down, they know you're right. You saw through the friend who smiled but envied you. You sensed the betrayal before it happened. You noticed the manipulation wrapped in kindness. And when you chose to walk away, they called you crazy, because they never thought you'd see it. You're not blind like the rest. You see the cracks in the walls people paint over. You see the storm before the clouds form. You read intentions, not appearances. And that makes you rare. That makes you chosen. That makes you dangerous. The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. Proverbs 15:14. Let's bring it to another real-world example. Robin Williams, a man who made millions laugh while silently battling inner demons. Most people never saw the pain behind his smile, but a chosen one would have felt it. That's the weight of your gift. You sense sorrow wrapped in success, bitterness hiding beneath beauty, and insecurity beneath arrogance. You don't need people to confess their wounds. Their spirit speaks louder than their mouth. So, here's a question. What will you do with this power now that you recognize it? Because let's be honest, this gift will cost you. It already has. You've lost friends because you saw what they didn't want revealed. You've been labeled too intense or too much because you read energy more accurately than some people read books. You've sat in silence, wondering if you should just ignore what you feel. But you can't, because your sight isn't just physical, it's prophetic. And here's the beautiful paradox. The same gift that isolates you is also what connects you to the rarest, most authentic souls you'll ever meet. Have you ever locked eyes with someone and just known? No need for small talk, no performance, just recognition. That's what happens when two chosen ones meet. No masks, no walls, just truth. It's not common, but it's real. And when it happens, it feels like exhaling for the first time in years. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Matthew 6:22. Consider Anthony Bourdain, the beloved traveler and storyteller. He wasn't just a chef, he was a soul reader. He visited places others overlooked, listened to voices others ignored, and saw beauty in stories the world had written off. But even with his gift, few saw his pain. That's what makes chosen ones complex. You feel deeply, see clearly, and yet often carry the heaviest burdens silently. So again, I ask, how will you use your soul's X-ray now? Will you keep it to yourself, or will you use it to protect others? Will you call out deception where it hides? Will you guide others gently into truth when they're ready to see? Because here's the truth. This gift wasn't meant to make you arrogant. It was meant to make you a guardian, to protect innocence, to honor truth, to keep spiritual predators at bay. You weren't given this clarity to gloat. You were given it to guard. And the world can feel it. That's why your presence shifts the atmosphere. That's why certain people can't look you in the eye. That's why they gossip about you instead of confronting you, because your gaze makes them confront themselves. Some will be drawn to your depth. They'll feel safe with you, even if they don't know why. Others will avoid you, fearing the exposure. But you were never meant to dim your sight for their comfort. You were meant to illuminate dark rooms. And maybe, just maybe, that's why you've always felt like you didn't belong. Because the truth is, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to see what others avoid. You were meant to call out what others tolerate. You were meant to be the eyes in the land of the blind. So, chosen one, your gift to see beyond words, beyond smiles, beyond illusions, it's no accident, it's divine, it's sacred, and it's time you use it without apology. Because what's coming next, the next supernatural power, it builds on everything you see, and it moves in ways the world can't comprehend. Let's keep going. Number 3, the razor mind phenomenon. Why do you move with clarity? while everyone else freezes in confusion. Chosen one, have you ever noticed how quickly you make decisions that leave others spinning? Have you ever caught the look on someone's face when they realize you didn't need a week, a meeting, or a group vote to know what to do? You just knew. That's no accident. That's not arrogance. That's the razor mind. And it is one of the sharpest weapons God has given you. While 80% of people wander through life in a fog, unsure of what they want, where they're going, or why they're even here, you walk differently. You move with intention. You decide with certainty. You're not controlled by pressure. You don't beg for consensus. Why? Because you've already fought the battles they're afraid to confront, the doubts they're trying to suppress. You face them, the fears that paralyze them. You process them in silence, and that's what makes your clarity feel so dangerous to those still lost in confusion. The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. Proverbs 12:15. They call you cold. They say you're intimidating. But what they really mean is, you're not like them. Your mind is too sharp. Your instincts are too refined. Your silence is too confident. And when you act, you don't hesitate. You strike with precision. The world wasn't ready for that kind of focus, but heaven was. That's why God set you apart. Let's be honest. Most people spend their lives addicted to noise, scrolling, swiping, comparing, consuming. They clutter their minds with 1,000 distractions, never realizing that they're poisoning their ability to think clearly. But you, chosen one, you walked away from all of it. You entered the silence that most people fear. You sat in the dark with your own mind, and that's where the transformation began. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable people get when there's no noise to hide behind? They reach for their phones, turn on the TV, fill every space with meaningless conversation. But not you. You leaned into the discomfort. You let the silence speak. You let the chaos inside rise to the surface. Old memories, insecurities, fears. And you didn't run. You faced it all. And when the storm passed, something incredible remained. Focus. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. Colossians 3:2. This isn't about perfection. You've had moments of confusion like everyone else. But the difference is, you don't camp there. You don't stay stuck. You cut through the fog. Your mind has become a weapon, not because you were born this way, but because you trained for it. Day by day, silence by silence, you carved clarity out of the noise like a swordsmith shaping a blade from fire and pressure. Let's look at someone who embodied this. Steve Jobs. He wasn't known for being warm or socially adaptable, but his vision, razor sharp, his mind, uncompromising. He knew what he wanted to create before the market even knew it needed it. He had clarity that shook the tech world, and it wasn't birthed from applause. It was forged in obsession, solitude, and intensity. That same intensity lives in you. It might not make you the most popular, but it will make you powerful. So, chosen one, ask yourself, why do you think others hesitate when you're already in motion? Why do they second-guess what you know in your spirit is right? It's because they're operating from reaction, while you operate from revelation. They need confirmation. You already received conviction. That's why they crumble under pressure while you rise in it. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Proverbs 27:12. When you make decisions, you don't drag your feet. You move. You don't need 50 opinions. You don't need validation from people who've never walked your road, because deep down, you've already sifted through the options. You've already counted the cost. You've already stared down the consequences. And once your mind is made, it's made. Have you ever felt out of place because of that? Like your clarity makes people uncomfortable? That's not in your head. That's real. Because the moment you walk in with conviction, it exposes their confusion. And that's the thing about the razor mind. It doesn't just guide your life. It confronts everyone else's indecision, and not everyone is ready for that mirror. Let's bring it closer. Think of Amelia Earhart, the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Do you think she waited for permission? Do you think she hesitated while the world doubted her? No. She had a razor mind. She focused on the mission, ignored the noise, and moved in purpose. That's what chosen ones do. We don't need the world to understand us. We need the mission to be clear, and when it is, we go. This is why you intimidate people who are still attached to indecision. Your presence alone is a threat to their excuses. Your movement shames their delay, and your clarity feels like confrontation to those still trapped in confusion. But you weren't called to make people comfortable. You were called to wake them up. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. Let's not pretend this power was easy to develop. You had to unlearn the need to please. You had to kill the urge to conform. You had to stop second-guessing your intuition. And in doing so, you unlocked something most people will never find: internal certainty. The kind of certainty that doesn't need applause, that doesn't fear backlash, that doesn't shake when others don't agree. Do you remember the moment it started? When you realized you couldn't keep wasting time entertaining doubts that weren't yours? When you saw how much energy people waste rethinking the same thing over and over? That's when the shift happened. You stopped chasing answers. You started trusting your alignment. Let's talk about someone else who lived like this. James Baldwin. He wasn't just a brilliant writer. He was a truth-teller with a blade-sharp intellect. He dissected systems of power and race in a way that made people uncomfortable. Why? Because he saw too clearly. He spoke too directly. His mind wasn't dulled by fear. It was refined by fire, just like yours. You don't get caught in the small stuff anymore. You don't argue about things that don't matter. You don't debate what you already discerned. That's how you preserve your power. That's how you move so fast. Because the moment you get clarity, you act. You don't negotiate with confusion. You slice through it. And that's what separates you from the 80%. They don't move because they don't know who they are. But you don't just know who you are. You know why you're here. That kind of purpose creates motion. That kind of focus creates momentum. And before they can even decide, you've already delivered. Let's not forget one final example, Serena Williams. Known for her physical strength, yes, but also for her mental fortitude. Her mind is her greatest asset. She visualizes the win. She knows what shot she'll take before the ball crosses the net. She doesn't play the point, she plays the game. That's what razor minds do. They see the whole board. So, chosen one, here's what you must remember. Your razor mind is not just for survival. It's for strategy. It's for service. It's for divine leadership. You weren't given clarity just to make your life easier. You were given clarity so you could lead others out of the fog. Your sharpness is a light. Your decisiveness is a signal. And your motion, it breaks the paralysis of those still asleep. Will you keep second-guessing yourself to make others feel better? Or will you keep slicing through confusion like the spiritual assassin you were designed to be? Because there's one truth that remains. The chosen don't drown in chaos. We rise through it. We don't beg for directions. We become the compass. And when the world starts to spin again, and it will, don't forget that you were made for this. You don't move with panic. You move with precision. So let them hesitate. Let them doubt. Let them overthink until the opportunity is gone. You'll be the one already at the finish line, calm, clear, and unshaken. Now, let's move forward, because what comes next will make even the razor mind look like a warm-up. Number 4. The echo of pain. Why can you feel what others don't dare to admit, even in silence? Chosen one, let me ask you something that no one else has likely dared to voice. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the temperature change? Not physically, but spiritually. Have you ever locked eyes with a stranger and suddenly known that they were hiding something so heavy it would shatter them if they spoke it aloud? Have you ever felt a wave of sorrow, anger, or fear that wasn't even yours, but you carried it anyway? That's not imagination. That's spiritual resonance. That's the echo of pain. And it's one of the most dangerous, divine, and misunderstood powers a chosen one can carry. You don't just read people, you feel them. You don't just interpret behavior, you sense the brokenness beneath it. And while others walk around blind to emotional undercurrents, you walk like a radar, picking up on frequencies that were never spoken but always present. People think you're too sensitive, but you're not fragile, you're forged. The Spirit Himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Romans 8:16. Let that sink in. This spiritual insight you carry, this ability to feel what others fear, is not weakness. It's confirmation that your spirit is alive, awakened, and connected to something most people have long forgotten. The truth. See, the average person lives on the surface. They believe what's said. They take people at face value. If someone smiles, they assume joy. If someone brags, they assume confidence. If someone laughs, they assume lightness. But you see through all that. You know that behind the laughter is often a scream. Behind the confidence is usually fear. Behind the charm is sometimes grief so unhealed it's become armor. That's why people fidget around you. That's why some people suddenly go quiet when you enter the room. That's why others open up to you as if something inside them knows you're safe. They don't even understand why, but you do, because it's your presence that cracks their performance. It's your stillness that exposes their noise. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Luke 8:17. Let's be real. This gift didn't arrive gently. It wasn't a soft whisper from God. It was born in fire. It was carved into you when you had to sit with your own wounds. You didn't just wake up reading pain. You lived it. Before, you could sense anyone else's struggle. You had to walk through your own personal hell. You had to face memories you didn't ask for. You had to unpack trauma buried so deep it came out in your dreams. You had to forgive people who never said sorry. You had to heal things that no one else even knew were broken. And through that process, something wild happened. Your emotional compass turned into a spiritual sonar. Suddenly, you started recognizing the same wounds in others that you once bled from. It wasn't sympathy. It was soul recognition. Think of Frida Kahlo, the Mexican artist who painted her pain with brutal honesty. Every canvas of hers bled with sorrow, loss, and endurance. And yet, people were drawn to it, not because it was pretty, but because it was real. That's you. You don't attract people by pleasing them. You attract them by revealing them. Let me ask you this. How many times have people told you things they never told anyone? How often do strangers seem to break down in front of you, as if something in you gave them permission to release? You weren't asking. You weren't trying to pry, but their soul recognized your frequency. They felt safe in your presence, even if they didn't have the words for it. Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2. But let's also be honest. This sensitivity can feel like a curse when you're not grounded, because not only do you absorb joy, you absorb pain. You feel tension in people who claim to be at peace. You walk into public spaces and sense grief that has no name. You lie awake some nights and can't even tell if the sadness you're feeling is yours. or someone else's. Sound familiar? This is why boundaries are so essential for chosen ones, because without them, the weight of everyone else's pain can begin to drown you. You weren't called to carry the whole world, but you were called to perceive it, not to be overwhelmed by every emotion, but to be alert to spiritual shifts, to walk in love and discernment, not pity and burnout. That's where the maturity of this gift lies. Let's look at Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. He spent his life diving into the human psyche, mapping the unconscious and interpreting the unseen. But he was also a man deeply sensitive to energy, symbolism, and the spiritual nature of humanity. He once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." That's exactly what you've done. You awakened, and now you see everything. So now, here's the question. What will you do with what you see? Will you ignore it to keep others comfortable? Will you silence it because some can't handle your depth? Or will you walk boldly into this season of your life, knowing that your sensitivity is your strength and your discernment is your defense? Because let's be clear, most people don't want to be seen, they want to be validated. And when you walk in with truth, it disrupts their delusion. That's why some people distance themselves from you. It's not because you did anything wrong, it's because your presence makes them face what they buried. And yet, ironically, many of those same people will eventually circle back when the mask breaks, when the illusion collapses, when they have nowhere else to go. They will remember the one person who didn't just see their persona, but saw their pain. And that will make you unforgettable. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Let's bring in another powerful example, Robin Williams, a man who made the world laugh while carrying unbearable sorrow inside. Most never saw it, but someone with a spirit like yours would have. Someone like you would have felt the ache beneath the jokes, the loneliness under the applause. That's the curse of performers and the gift of perceivers. The world only hears the noise. You hear the silence behind it. So here's what makes you powerful beyond belief. You don't expose people to hurt them. You expose their pain so healing can begin. You don't judge. You understand. You listen without needing answers. You offer presence instead of pressure. And in a world addicted to fixing, you offer what people truly crave, being seen without conditions. Chosen one, do you know how rare that is? And it's not just individuals you feel. You sense environments. You know when something is off, even if no one says a word. You know when someone's about to betray you before they make the move. You pick up on spiritual shifts that most are blind to. This isn't paranoia, it's prophecy. And that's why you don't fit in with 80% of people, because they live behind walls. They stay in denial. They call illusion reality and call truth too much. But you're too awake to play that game. You don't chase masks, you shatter them. You don't follow crowds, you feel undercurrents. You don't guess, you know. And yet, this doesn't make you arrogant. It humbles you, because you know what it costs to feel this deeply. You've paid the price, and it has made you compassionate, not condescending. Let's talk about one last example, Mother Teresa. A woman so spiritually sensitive she felt the cries of the unwanted, the dying, the abandoned in the streets of Calcutta. People didn't understand her drive. But she once said, "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other." That's what you carry, the deep, aching awareness that we are all connected by our wounds. And when you see someone hurting, something in you rises, not with judgment, but with divine recognition. So here's the final truth. Your sensitivity is not just emotional, it's spiritual. And in an age of deception, this is a weapon of light. This is how heaven speaks through you, not with thunder, but with empathy, not with noise, but with knowing, not with force, but with presence. So, chosen one, don't bury this gift. Don't silence your sensing. Don't let the 80% make you feel crazy for seeing what they refuse to admit. You were chosen because you see, because you feel, because you care, and your presence, it will always disturb what's fake and awaken what's real. What comes next? It's even more powerful. Let's keep going. Number 5. The power of time alchemy. How chosen ones bend what the world is wasting. Chosen one, let me ask you something right now. Have you ever felt like time is different for you? Like while others scramble and stall, you've learned how to stretch a moment into momentum. Does it feel like you can sit in stillness for an hour and emerge with more clarity than others gain in a year of chaos? That's no accident. That's time alchemy. That's your next supernatural edge. You're not here just to watch time pass. You're here to bend it, break it, and forge it into something holy. While 80% of the world wastes their time chasing the next distraction, scrolling through illusions, and losing themselves in entertainment. They call it relaxation, but you know it's escape. You've been mastering something far more sacred: alignment. You've discovered the hidden law that few acknowledge. Time is not just minutes on a clock. It is a tool, a test, a weapon, and you've learned how to wield it. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Ephesians 5:15-16. Most people will never understand the power of stillness. They can't sit in silence for more than 5 minutes without reaching for their phones, turning on a show, or starting meaningless chatter. Why? Because silence reminds them of the time they've already wasted. But you, chosen one, you are different. You took the silence and turned it into a sanctuary. You didn't escape from yourself. You studied yourself. You didn't fear time. You befriended it. And that's why you move differently now. Let's make it real. Think of two warriors. One is flashy, reactive, always seeking praise and constantly in motion, but never in control. The other, you, trains in solitude. While the world plays, you build. While they post, you pray. While they lose hours arguing online, you invest hours in refining your mind, your discipline, your mission. The result? When the real battle comes, they exhaust themselves in the first few seconds. You've been ready. You are the strategy. This is the true meaning of time alchemy. It's not about being busy. It's about being deliberate. It's not about multitasking. It's about moving in divine precision. You understand what most people refuse to accept, that every hour is either a seed or a thief, and you've stopped letting time steal from you. So teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Psalm 90:12. Let me ask you this. How much time did you lose in your past chasing things that didn't serve you? How many months or years were spent on people who didn't value your presence, or jobs that drained your purpose? You learned the hard way that time is expensive, that every wasted season has a price, and that's why you no longer give your time cheaply. You've reached a point now where people don't understand your silence. They mistake your isolation for idleness. But what they don't know is that your quiet season was your training ground. While others were looking for applause, you were sharpening your awareness. While they sought temporary highs, you were constructing permanent foundations. And now you move with such quiet confidence that it unsettles them. Take Leonardo da Vinci, for example, a man of boundless genius, but also of profound patience. He often disappeared for long periods deep in study or thought before emerging with something the world had never seen. That's you. You retreat, not to hide, but to hone. You use time like a sculptor uses a chisel, removing what is unnecessary to reveal the masterpiece underneath. This is what separates you from the 80%. You no longer live on the surface. You don't wake up wondering what others think of you. You wake up wondering how to better steward what God has given you. You've realized that alignment with divine timing is more powerful than hustling in human timing. When others are busy, you are becoming. And let's be clear, this mastery over time didn't come easy. You had to break away from the culture of urgency. You had to unlearn the addiction to rushing. You had to stop equating speed with success. That's the lie they fed you. Hurry up or you'll miss your chance. But you know something deeper now. You know that when God is the author of your story, no opportunity written for you will pass you by. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Have you noticed this? The people who once laughed at your discipline now watch you with silent awe. They don't say much, but they feel it. The gravity of someone who no longer wastes time. Your aura has changed. Your schedule has changed. Your priorities have changed. You don't entertain the same conversations. You don't linger where you're not respected. And that's because you've realized every moment you give to something unworthy is a moment stolen from your mission. Let's bring it to another example, Nikola Tesla. While Thomas Edison burned through money and manpower, Tesla would isolate for days, visualizing entire inventions in his mind before ever building them. He didn't need crowds, he needed time, stillness, space. And in that space, he birthed the future. That's the kind of power solitude gives you when you stop resisting it. So now, how are you using your time? Are you filling it with tasks, or are you aligning it with transformation? Are you letting the hours shape you, or are you shaping the hours? Because the difference between the chosen and the common is simple. The chosen don't spend time, they invest it. And that's why the people from your past don't recognize you anymore. They still operate on the clock. You operate in the kairos, God's appointed time. They rush to impress, you wait to impact. They race, you rise. Let's look at someone else who embodied this, Harriet Tubman. She didn't have the luxury of wasting time. She moved with divine timing, silent, strategic, and always a step ahead of her enemies. Every second mattered. Every decision had weight, and that's the realm you now live in. You don't just count hours, you command them. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Ecclesiastes 3:1. This is the ultimate shift. You've stopped living by reaction and started living by revelation. You no longer ask, "What should I do next?" You ask, "What is this time for?" Because when you understand the purpose of a season, you stop resisting the process. You embrace it. Whether it's waiting, building, healing, or launching, you flow in alignment, not anxiety. Let's not sugarcoat it. This makes you alien to most. While they live in urgency, you move in rhythm. While they burn out, you burn steady. While they say time is money, you know that time is destiny, and you protect it as such. Think of Maya Angelou, a woman of profound timing. She didn't rush her words. She crafted them. She didn't overproduce. She released at the moment it mattered. Her silence carried power. Her pauses spoke louder than some people's sermons. She understood that timing is not just about when, but why, and that's exactly the frequency you're tapping into. So, chosen one, now that you've unlocked this truth, your life will never look the same again. The frantic pace of the world will feel foreign. The pressure to perform will lose its grip. And in its place, presence, precision, peace. And here's the final twist. When you master time, you don't age like others. You don't lose years to regret. You don't burn out chasing illusions. Instead, you collapse timelines. You manifest quickly. You execute efficiently. You arrive early. And the world won't understand how you got so far, because they weren't there in the dark, watching you redeem every second. So, will you continue to treat time like an enemy, or will you finally treat it like the divine tool it is? Because once you do, you won't just be powerful, you'll be unstoppable. And now, chosen one, we move forward. Because the next power, the one that's coming after this, is even more dangerous. But before we step into that, take this moment to realize what's already changed in you. Just like that, you see the difference, don't you? You feel it now more than ever. You've never been like the 80%. You were never meant to be. While the majority flee from silence, you walk right into it like it's a temple. While they use solitude as a punishment, you've transformed it into a sanctuary. Every hour spent in the dark, every tear you wiped without anyone knowing, every night you wrestled with your purpose instead of numbing yourself with noise. It was never wasted. It was investment. And what did it produce? Clarity, focus, discipline, authority. This is what separates you now. While they count time in minutes and distractions, you count time in revelations and upgrades. You no longer wait for the world to give you permission to grow. You schedule your transformation. You've become someone they can't distract, delay, or derail. You don't just manage time anymore, you command it. Because here's the secret they'll never teach in schools or systems. Time isn't just ticking forward, it's responding to your intention. When you show up focused, time bends in your favor. What takes others 5 years takes you 1. What feels like burnout to them feels like refinement to you. Why? Because you're moving in alignment with God's rhythm, not man's pressure. And the best part? While the 80% waste their days chasing likes, validation, and temporary highs, you won't. You'll be building, planting, refining, listening, sharpening. You'll be preparing for moments they'll never see coming. You'll recognize that every second is a doorway. Every hour holds potential. Every stretch of solitude is fuel for your next divine elevation. Chosen one, what will you do with your next 24 hours? Will you spend it the way you used to, distracted, drained, and detached? Or will you honor it like the sacred resource it is? Because now you know better. And once a chosen one knows better, they must do better. You are not living in delay, you are living in design. The time you thought you lost, it was never gone, it was being sanctified. The seasons you thought were silent, they were packed with strategy. And now, with everything you've learned, you are stepping into a new authority over your hours, your energy, and your future. So let them laugh. Let them roll their eyes and call it loneliness, while you quietly build legacy in silence. Let them call you too intense while you architect a life of depth, purpose, and spiritual mastery that will outlive opinions, trends, and every empty distraction they ever chased. Because while they were preoccupied with pleasing people and feeding their egos, you were sitting in solitude, having conversations with God, receiving downloads for a destiny they'll never understand. While they wasted time performing, you were transforming, and now they can sense the shift, even if they can't explain it. You, chosen one, are not running late. You're not overlooked. You're not irrelevant. You are right on time. You're moving on a prophetic schedule. You are in divine alignment, even when it feels like delay. So, if you've been wondering when it will finally be your moment, understand this. You've already stepped into it. It just doesn't look how the world expected, and that's because your rise isn't theatrical, it's spiritual. God isn't raising you in public applause. He's raising you in private refinement. And when it's time for your unveiling, no one will be able to stop what was prepared in the dark. And maybe no one has told you this lately, so let me be the one. I see your effort. I see the way you've been holding your composure in seasons of pressure. I see the mental discipline it's taken to keep showing up, to keep believing, to keep building when there were no guarantees. I see how much you've grown in silence, how many times you've chosen to stay soft, even after being hardened by life. I see how you've protected your time, guarded your energy, and refused to let the world steal your purpose. And more importantly, heaven sees it too. God has watched every quiet sacrifice, every moment of resistance, every tear you wiped alone, and none of it was wasted. You are not just surviving time, you are mastering it. You are living proof that solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. You didn't lose years, you gained layers. You didn't fall behind, you fell into alignment. And soon, the same people who said you were too quiet will wonder how you became so powerful without making noise. Now, before we close this message, I want to take a moment to speak from the heart. If you're still here, reading this, receiving this, thank you. Truly, your presence means more than you know. Whether you're silently taking it in, sharing it with someone who needs it, or just letting the words settle in your spirit, I want you to know that you are deeply appreciated. This isn't just content, it's connection. This isn't just a message, it's a mirror. And if you made it to this point, it tells me something sacred about you. You are not part of the crowd. You are part of the remnant. To those who feel led to give, you can use the Super Thanks option below. Your support helps this message travel further into the algorithms, into the hands of other chosen ones who are still out there searching for confirmation, clarity, and calling. It helps us create more content that speaks to the depths of people, not just the surface. But hear me clearly, whether you give or not, whether you ever press a button or send a cent, I'm grateful for you. Your engagement, your presence, your energy, that is already a gift. Just by being here, you've poured something into this space. And I don't take that lightly. You didn't land on this message by accident. It's not random that you found these words today. This is divine orchestration. Heaven has been aligning your steps for a long time. And if this message resonated with you, it's because your spirit has been ready to hear what your mind couldn't articulate until now. You've been growing in the shadows, and now it's time for the light to hit what's been maturing underground. Your roots go deep. Your timing is divine, and your impact will be undeniable. So now, before we fully close, let me release a blessing over your journey. I pray that every second you've spent in solitude will return to you, multiplied in wisdom and revelation. I speak clarity over your days. May confusion be replaced with direction, and delay be transformed into divine acceleration. May your time be redeemed. May your focus be protected. May the minutes you once spent in self-doubt now be spent in bold action. May the hours you invested in healing now overflow into supernatural strength. I speak rest into your nervous system, stillness into your thoughts, vision into your eyes, and precision into your next steps. May your name be spoken in rooms you haven't entered yet. May your discipline be rewarded in dimensions you didn't even know existed. And may your timeline unfold not according to human logic, but by divine appointment. I bless your hands to build, your heart to discern, your ears to hear the truth beneath the noise, and your mouth to speak only what aligns with your assignment. From this moment forward, no more apologizing for your pace, no more explaining your silence, no more wasting time trying to be understood by those who were never meant to walk with you. You are chosen, you are trusted, you are covered, and you are about to enter a season where time bends in your favor. Because now, you are the alchemist. You don't chase what's meant for you. You magnetize it through alignment, discipline, and faith. So rise, chosen one. Rise with reverence. Rise with authority. Rise with the knowledge that your delay was divine. And what's coming next? It's not just your breakthrough, it's your becoming. Let's move forward.